Hello and welcome to the latest edition of India Ideas. This is the show which is all about science and tech, innovation and entrepreneurship. I'm Gautam Roy, and today we're looking at the food tech sector, which was slated to grow at 25 to 30% CAGR to reach $8 billion in size by the end of 2022. But then the pandemic happened. So, what is the status now? How are things at this stage, and what's it going to be in the coming days? Our panel today has Raghav Verma, co-founder Chayos, which has become synonymous with India's most favorite beverage. We've got Prerna Kalra, co-founder Dalchini, which calls itself India's first community of automated kiosks. And we also have Ishwar Vikas, co-founder and CEO Mukunda Foods, which is in its own space an F&B automation and robotics company. That does sound pretty impressive. Ishwar, we'll talk to you about that as well. But first, to you, Raghav, just tell us about Chayos' journey, because it is such an interesting product, such an interesting brand, synonymous with what India has, to begin its mornings every day. But how's the story been so far?
Yep, Gautam. So we started off with a very simple problem statement. For every cup of coffee that's consumed in the country, there are 30 cups of chai that are consumed, right? It's a 30:1 ratio. And at the same time, when you went outside your house, you literally did not have an option to get a good cup of chai. So, there were about 2,000 coffee cafes when we started. And we felt that someone needs to do justice to the beverage which is being consumed in the country, which is kind of like a national beverage for us. So that's the thought process with which we started off, and this was about 8 years back. Our our fundamental premise and the USP of Chayos is that no two people have the exact same preference when it comes to chai. So you might like your chai to be more kadak with a strong adrak flavor. Someone else might like a very mild elaichi chai kind of a thing. We came upon this concept of Meri Wali chai, and that personalization has become the core of what Chayo stands for. Today we are present in 85 cafes, Delhi NCR, Bombay and Bangalore, and we currently are present across a variety of formats. So from a business park to a mall to a high street location to hospitals, metro stations, and so on. So the intent for us is that all those out of home use cases, be it your offices, be it on the go, be it a mall, we want to penetrate deeper and kind of be able to fulfill all of those use cases. And that's what the journey has been on a basic level. I think model seems pretty sorted right now. We're just putting our head down and focusing on how we scale up from here.
Okay. And Prerna, tell us about Dalchini in itself, and another interesting name, really very aromatic, can straight away be associated with a lot of things Indian in terms of cuisine. But just tell us about the concept of Dalchini and how it has gone so far, when did it start, and the progress so far.
Yeah, so we are basically, like you said, that it's a community for automated kiosks. Since decades, India has had vending machines in the country, right? But the way we have brought Dalchini as a platform for micro businesses, someone who wants to set up a small mini store using vending machines, and we are a platform for them. We provide them supply chain, we provide them the vending machine, the smart shelves, everything. And we also provide them a mobile app through which they can manage their own business sitting at home, right? So somebody, a home chef, a cafe owner, or maybe a housewife, or maybe somebody, a retired government official, right? Anybody who wants to start a business, or maybe somebody like you and me, right? As a part business, apart from doing a regular job, wants to start another, our own entrepreneurship journey, right? Using some vending machines. So we are a platform for that, right? We started in 2018 and we are about in 400 plus locations now. We are there now. Our partners are basically set up in 9 cities. We are there we started with NCR in 2018, but now during pandemic itself, we have launched 4 new cities. We added Goa, we added Pune, we added Mumbai, Bangalore. All of these 4 cities we added during pandemic, because the way specifically with pandemic, the way the adoption of vending machine and contactless purchase as a use case, right, has come up, right? Now we are getting partners who want to, like, we started Dalchini with a concept of selling home style food, right, through vending machines, right? But now our partners are coming to us and saying that can we sell souvenirs at Taj Mahal using vending machines, right? Why not? We said that obviously our platform is so robust, you can actually utilize it for doing a lot more things, right? Then traditionally it would have been used for just like packaged items, chips, candies, cookies, etc.
Wonderful. You can look at diversifying as well. And if we talk about Mukunda Foods, Ishwar, it's in a different category altogether. It's for perhaps scaling up businesses like those of Raghav and of Prerna's.
Yeah, so very well, Gautam. So Mukunda Food started as a QSR brand few years back, right? We started selling our own food. We wanted to be the McDonald's of Indian food.
Okay.
We had one outlet, second outlet, but the moment we went to the third outlet, that's when things became very difficult for us. We were having a lot of issues. Inconsistency, quality, finding skilled people was becoming very difficult, and it was a very loss-making business. That's when we said, let's look at automation. And that's when we started making machines for our own kiosks, our own food outlets for us to scale. When we started doing that, many restaurants, small outlets, large outlets started coming to us and said, hey, this is interesting. Can we use these machines in our outlets? Can we buy these machines? We had patents for this. So we established a manufacturing line, we had after sales network, and we started rolling out machines. So Mukunda Foods' existence is for outlets who wants to sell Indian food, who wants to sell gravies, Chinese food, biryanis. You want to do a lot of other varieties of food. You want to do it at scale. You want to do it consistently. It's not possible without automation, without technology. That's where we come into picture, and we are helping brands scale using these things. Today, we have automated 10 plus cuisines. We have done Indian gravies. We have done Chinese. We have done biryanis. We are working on vending concepts, fresh food vending concepts. We are doing things like puris, we are doing frying, and we are doing a lot of stuff. And even brands like Chayos, they have built their own in-house automation products for their outlets, and they have been able to scale to nearly 100 outlets using automation. And if every outlet, every business, every food entrepreneur wants to look at scale, and every food entrepreneur wants to look at profitability. Every food entrepreneur wants to look at giving very good, high quality food to all their people, whichever outlet they have. And that's our vision, and that's how we are bringing Indian made machines, designed, developed, and manufactured in India for the global audience. We are exporting to 22 countries. We are working with some of the largest pizza brands and largest QSR brands globally who have come to Bangalore and who are working with us to take these machines so that they'll be able to scale their outlets.
Very impressive. Now, just tell us, in the current phase after COVID hit, Raghav, there was, of course, a lot of talk about startups pivoting, startups adapting, and Chayos did not need to pivot. It stayed the course with the kind of products that it has, but it did certainly adapt. And to what extent do you think that has been key to the fact that you even open up new outlets during the pandemic, after the lockdown started to ease up?
Correct. So Gautam, for us, the first 3 to 4 months were especially terrible. Right? People were just not stepping out of their homes, and for us, being a very social use case, being a cafe use case, we were pretty badly hit in the first 3 months. In fact, we were pretty much at around 10 to 20% of our older revenues. And for us, the fundamental belief was that look, the pandemic is here. The pandemic will definitely change some fundamental behavior to some level, but it's not going to completely alter the social nature of human beings. Right? With that fundamental belief, we went ahead and said that look, we built a very strong business. We need to do what it takes now to be able to sustain the course over the lockdown and beyond that. And how do we get into adjacencies which can actually help us to both reduce burn and to be able to cover up the revenue? Two things that really helped a lot for us. One was e-commerce. So so e-commerce was a very, very small segment, very low single digits percentage revenue contribution. That actually covered up a lot of revenue for us, because within the first 2 months of pandemic, we were doing 10x of the numbers we were doing pre-pandemic. And so we launched a lot of new products there. We went live on all the channels, and e-commerce has now become a mainstay of our business. So it's actually a long-term value creation, not just something ad hoc that we did during that time, which kind of didn't sustain beyond the lockdown. The other thing was that we pushed a lot on the delivery part of our business. We started chai delivery in 2015, and we've developed this very innovative packaging that can keep your chai hot for an hour. So again, this has taken a bit of time for us to establish as a use case, because even a lot of our loyal customers say that chai to thandi ho jayegi ghar pahunchte pahunchte, so why would we order chai at home? So this helped us, because a lot of our dine-in customers who were missing their regular Chaayos products, they started to order in, and our delivery business has also grown well for us, and we are past the pre-COVID numbers on our delivery business. So fundamentally, these were two things that kind of augmented. We looked at things which could augment and things which could make our position much stronger. A lot of emphasis on technology, contactless. All our chais are made without a touch of hand, through automated chai making robots. Our app was supposed to be rolled out later this year, but we fast tracked that. So we had a high percentage of orders being placed in a contactless way. We were one of the first Indian food brands to actually launch their contactless app across all the platforms.
And Prerna, there's what Raghav has to say about adapting the business to COVID. Does that apply in your case as well? Because yours is a slightly different business as well.
Yeah. So per se, vending machines, and as the COVID came, right, there was some learning that we got, right, from other countries like China, and where COVID hit before it hit actually in India in a big way, right? So we could see that vending machines were adopted, and a lot of people were not only buying food but also hygiene product, mask, etc.
Because of both contactless and of course the shift from offline to online transactions, financially, so digital shift.
Yeah, so there is no human involved, right? When you're buying from a vending machine, there is no human at all, right? So there's obviously the social distancing requirement is actually is met, right? So we could see there was a buzz around it, right? That vending machines will come in a big way because of COVID and all. So we actually went ahead and actually captured this opportunity and started launching in a very initial stage itself into residential complexes, high-rise buildings, because everybody is working from home, right? So that's the place now the people are, right? So pre-COVID, we were there in corporates, but post-COVID, we started launching in residential complexes. Hospitals, right, became one of our biggest partners, right? They were about 10 to 15% now. They are upward of 20% now of our overall locations or partners where we are present, right? So that's something that second is that we also started launching mini vending machines into transit solutions like buses and cabs, right? Because we could see that if I'm traveling via Ola or Uber, right, and if I want to buy something in a contactless manner, is there some solution that can be provided? So we also added that. So I would say overall pandemic gave us also, while it was challenging and it is challenging for the startup ecosystem, right? But it gave a lot of learning for us. It also gave us a lot of pressure on our brains to think out of box, right? And come up with something new, right? Something which can be adapted, something which can be more long-term, right?
And what about you, Ishwar? Because for Mukunda Foods, I'm sure there must have been an uptick in demand considering how contactless has grown in terms of people wanting their food from outside to be as contactless as possible, and automation does really help there. But then you've had a lot of F&B establishments shutting down as well, and a lot of their equipment coming in the second-hand market as well, and that is not being picked up too.
Sure. So thankfully for us, it was wind beneath our wings. I'll give you 3 use cases where we saw automation really help. 3 examples, I would say. So there was this one example where Wow Momo wanted to tie up with CCD, right? And Wow Momo is a large brand, CCD is a large brand. Because of pandemic, they came together, they wanted to do things together. But Wow Momo used to make fried momos and stuff like that. In a cafe environment, you cannot make fried food. So they came to us with a problem because they were already a customer. Sagar came to us and said, Ishwar, can you do a fryer that actually fries food but does not emit smoke? And I cannot put a chimney out there. And I want that whole process to be automatic. It has to be touchless. It has to fit into a cafe kind of environment. So we built a machine, that a robotic fryer for a CCD outlet in an AC environment. It would fry without you even getting a smoke of it. So that's where automation came into picture. Contactless robotic frying started as a product, and it helped a relationship between CCD, Wow Momo, and Mukunda Foods. There was this other second example where I can give you as everybody are doing vending. That's what Prerna said. People want to go to a vending machine and buy. They'll be more comfortable in doing that rather than going into an outlet and talking to a person, exchanging cash, and many people are around surrounding you. But vending machines have a limitation today. They don't cook food for you. They just dispense food for you, or dispense.
Well, it has to be ready to eat food there.
Ready to eat food there. So this large FMCG brand came to us and said, hey, can you make food cooking machines that can actually sell food for you? Say you want to walk up to a machine and say, I want to eat pasta that has less cheese, more, it has to be juicy, and I want it in 1 minute, and I wanted it fresh. I don't want a pre-cooked pasta to be given to me. So we started working on vending machines, which you can see in a few places now, where you can go and customize your kind of pasta. You can use UPI payment, pay the money, and you're able to get your food going. This is our second way where we are seeing the automation really helping, going a step forward from outlet level cooking to fully automated standalone outlets cooking food the way you want it to be cooked.
Okay. Well, Raghav, all that you guys do, it's not just about tech in terms of what kind of algos and modifications do you do in that. There's actual R&D in design, in products. Like you said, you came up with a packaging that could keep your tea warm for an hour. So that is, isn't it another ball game altogether?
Yeah, completely. And traditionally, food businesses haven't had they've pretty much outsourced all of their technology, and it's always been about food first and process first and then followed by technology, right? We took the decision when we started that we want to run our startup and our brand like a new age business, which means better utilization of data, more standardization using technology, more using tech from both a hardware perspective and a software perspective. So we actually ended up building our own teams in house, and pretty much everything that is technology at Chaayos is made in house. So it's obviously been a mindset that we've always worked with. That tech needs to sit at the core of what we do, and we're definitely seeing the benefits of it from the kind of food ordering that we do. We're able to control wastage to very low levels, to being able to suggest the best product to customer, to being able to track when a customer might churn and actually send them a relevant product or a relevant offer at the right period of at the right point of time. So yeah, I think it's been a mindset where we made tech as the core, and we made R&D and innovation as the core. There's no separate innovation department at Chaayos. Everybody thinks that way. So it's kind of become a part of the culture and DNA as well.
Okay. And Prerna, what about you? Because in the case of your kiosks, there could be different people making different things in different kiosks as well. The same dish could have a different composition as well. So have you used your tech and R&D skills to ensure that at least the quality part is maintained, even if there's no completely uniform standardization?
Absolutely. So I would say all these new age startups, right? So they're far ahead, right? Initially, we used to provide a product, right? So then people started adding a service layer, right? That they said that, okay, I have a product, but I will also give you service, right? But now I think 2021 and this decade is not about product. It's not about service. It's about solution, right? You give a product, you give a service, and you also have a layer of solution to it, right? And that's what we firmly at Dalchini also believe, right? That because we think that vending machines or smart shelves or mobility boxes, all these technology or the product core has been there from decades, right? It like, even like if you remember, right, 10 years back, if you would have walked into an airport, you would have found one, right? A vending machine dispensing maybe Coke, Pepsi, etc., right? But that's not what it is. It should be, right? So today we say that our vending machines are equipped with 6 meals a day, right? You get breakfast, you get midday snack, you get a lunch box if you want it, and you even get even a late night snack you want at 12 in the night, you would get something, right? So to provide this solution, right, you need a lot of processes on our side. So we follow some kind of a 5C process chart in our system, right? From menu curation. So it has multiple levels, compliances, curation, even with so many partners that we have, 400 plus locations. Every location will have at least food coming in from 3 to 4 partners, right? But to scale to that level, you obviously need some kind of a solution and process driven solution, which is more tech in nature, the core. Like I myself have 12 years of work experience working in tech, and I say that I'd have zero food experience.
Okay.
While I run a brand, Dalchini, which is an F&B brand, right?
And does the same apply in your case as well, Ishwar? Because you guys have perhaps a bigger R&D division than most of your other verticals.
Yeah, we are an R&D first company, and we had a very unique problem a few months back during the pandemic. Because of the whole geopolitical shift, there was a large US brand that had to that said, let's move to India and get an Indian partner to work for us. Right? They were doing some work in China and they wanted to work from India. So we had to cater to a US customer first time, where we had to manufacture shiploads of machines and ship it to them at the quality and consistency that is palatable to them, right? And how would you do that? And that's where your experience doesn't count. That's where innovation counts. That's where you're able to think bottoms up. How do you get NSF and UL certification done within less than a quarter, which normally takes a year to get certified? How do you set up a manufacturing line and make 100, 200 machines a week and ship it out to your customer? And that's where really innovation comes in. And innovation is not a buzzword anymore. Innovation should really work and solve for your customers' needs and help the customer to solve his problem. I cannot say I'm an innovative company and this is what I'm doing. At the end of the year, consumer or customer is not seeing value in that. It doesn't matter. Innovation for us at Mukunda Foods is our value number one, which says solve customer problems. So innovation should solve a customer's problem. And if I've innovated and sent a machine to US and it does not work, it's not innovation. And that's how we are able to bring in an innovation-led atmosphere here, which really solves problems rather than just to say I have an innovative product, nickname acha, but it doesn't work. That's the yesterday. That today is it has to work at scale and at various geographies. And we have 100+ team in an R&D team in Mukunda Foods. Some of the brightest minds in the country working on kitchen innovation, which has been a space which has been hardly seen. We have machines put in Rashtrapati Bhavan. We have machines put across the defense lines at border organizations where it has to make food, and it has to make food the way you like it, right? And that's where innovation is solving tough and hard problems today for us.
Raghav, just tell me now, our government, Prime Minister Modi himself has been all about startups, encouraging them. A lot of policy measures have been taken for startups, but and ease of doing business is another aspect of it as well. But if you were to talk about the food tech sector in itself among startups, what do you think the government has done so far? What has helped it, and what would you suggest if you could?
So Gautam, I think there's been I think the good part has been that there's been a lot of constructive interface between government and industry bodies. So we've been part of multiple forums where there have been extensive discussions on how does the entire licensing process, how does that become easier for a food business, how do we maybe get input tax credit for the GST. So there have been multiple conversations which have been happening. The good part is that it's been very progressive on that front, that all the views are being heard from across the table. There have been a few recent announcements as well around single licensing window. So some states are actually adopting that. We've been actually pushing for a 24-hour license to be able to run business. Gurgaon has had that for a while, and
Yes.
that opens up an additional nighttime economy. So there's some movement and action happening there as well. So I think overall the direction is positive. I think if all of this hadn't happened, maybe things would have been fast tracked even sooner. But yeah, hopefully now that things are now getting back to normal, we should see some positive changes here.
Great, because food in itself is a complicated business. It cuts across, especially when tech gets built into it. Prerna, in terms of say even clearances and licenses, multiple authorities could be involved, not just the center, at the state level, even at the municipal level. Do you think that is something that could be looked at further as well to ensure that things are more smooth for people setting up startups and expanding them as well?
So like we have had a first-hand experience kind of a thing, right? Because we launched 4 different cities, and these were like in 3 different states, right? And it was not, I would say that it was not a cakewalk, but yeah, it was still, there were processes there, right? And we could, even during pandemic time, get all our licenses, registrations, everything done, setups, everything done. We were able to do, in fact, because we were there in like kind of an essential service, right? Because vending machines are, right? And food, etc., that you are like groceries and food that you are supplying, is kind of an essential service. So even during pandemic, we were like swiftly able to move to these new locations, launch, get the registration and everything done. So it was kind of a whole positivity around it, at least, that okay, there is somebody who at least knows that okay, this is an essential service and they need to follow a different path, right? So that was there, and that I think kind of helped. Yeah.
Okay, great. And in terms of Mukunda Foods, it's about machines, automation, robotics, a different regulatory environment as well, Ishwar, or is it all part of the same licensing sort of or certification business as there is already existing in the government, or does it fall in some kind of a gray area?
Yeah, fortunately for when you look at FSSAI and other things, if you're producing food of less than I think about 1,000 kilos a day, you don't need certification. That's how the law is today, and there is no need of certification. But India is still following. There is no law in that space, so we don't have to worry about licenses and stuff like that. But I think we have seen a huge traction with the Make in India thing, because we have manufacturing plants. We have 10 years back, getting a supplier for a couple of parts was very difficult, but because now there's so many suppliers around, you get parts and you are able to offer more competitive pricing for your own machines. So that way we have seen a lot of benefit through the whole programs that have been launched right now, in terms of especially in the manufacturing segment. But we would still be, I think, if there are some kind of certification for machines, small machines, which are at an outlet, like US has NSF and UL mandatory, Europe has CE mandatory, India has nothing mandatory. And as you rightly said, it's still a gray area. If there are some kind of guidance, then it would differentiate between a serious player and a non-serious player.
Yes. Yes, certainly. Well, I would love to talk to you guys more about it. We're completely out of time, and I've been salivating a lot about food as well since we've been talking about it. So all the best to you guys in the future, expanding your business and encouraging more and more people to join this particular stream of startups as well. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gautam.